Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for February 12th, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a restful afternoon, a good afternoon, and ready for another wild day in the markets. Before we do anything else, let's take a quick look at what happened overnight. Asian markets had a really good move overnight. India was a little bit lower, but Australia was up. The Nikkei up 0.42%. We had Hong Kong moving higher, up 2.64%, and the Shanghai was up $28 and 33 cents. So looking mostly bullish over there in Asian markets. European markets, as we head into U.S. inflation data, they're also showing bullishness. We've got the DAX right now up 0.26%, the FTSE's up 0.06%, and the CAC up 0.06% as well. We're talking about FTSE's up $5, CAC is up 4, so rather modest gains, but holding in there on the green. If we take a look at U.S. futures right now, we've got a little bit of a mix going on. We've got the Dow futures are up down 73 points. The S&P 500 futures are down $6.75. The Nasdaq futures being up $3.25. So a little bit of a mix, but a little bit of caution heading into today's number. So let's take a look at other things here in the market. If we look at our bonds here this morning, our bonds are just a little bit higher, and probably anticipation of that report on CPI that is expected to go higher. We've got the 2-year at 4.29%, the 10-year is at 4.54%, and that 30-year is being pretty stubborn, pushing up to 4.75%. If we take a look at our US dollar, it's interesting as those rates are going higher. We've got the US dollar pulling back ever so slightly here. Right now the dollar is down just short of 4 cents. So not a big move, but showing a little bit of softness there. And we have this pattern in here that we'll want to be watching, these potential lower highs, as I continue to mention. If we start to see the dollar really fall here in the market, I would watch for those commodity prices to move higher. Now, that being said, interestingly enough, we have oil this morning actually a little bit lower here. While we've got the producers just a little tiny move lower here this morning, we've got oil slightly lower, down 85 cents at 72.47 a barrel. And if we take a look at Brent crude, Brent is at 76.20 a barrel, down just slightly. Natural gas is also lower this morning after a nice little stretch to the upside. We're resting back right now. Natural gas is showing down a little bit over 4 cents. If we take a look at precious metals, gold is easing back from its record run to the upside. Just kind of pausing here as we wait for the inflation number here this morning, so kind of keep an eye on that. We've got silver also down slightly, down 15.7 cents. While gold is lower by 26.20 in the futures here this morning. Copper is essentially flat here today, platinum the same, and palladium looking just a little bit lower here this morning with a little bit of rest and uncertainty here in the market. If we take a look at cryptos here this morning, we've got Bitcoin nice and bullish here this morning. It's already moved down some in the pre-market here, but we've got Bitcoin at $920 an ounce up this morning. A coin. And Ether is also looking higher, up $29.90 a coin here this morning. As you can see in this pattern on BITO, not exactly a bullish pattern, and we're going to have an interesting challenge here pretty soon. We've got this upside trend and we've got this support in here. Watch that carefully. We need to see those bulls step up in here and push this up if you're bullish on this coin. Watch that carefully. If this drops through here, we may actually be seeing a bit of a topping pattern coming into Bitcoin, so watch that carefully. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Some sad news that the reason I was gone yesterday, and there'll be some days coming up here that I'll also be gone. My brother decided to check out, committed suicide Monday. And I took yesterday off, just kind of dealing with the shock of it all. And there's nothing I can do here at the moment. The medical examiner has not released his body, so we're waiting on that. And as soon as we can put together services and things like that, then I will have to be gone for a little while. So please forgive me, bear with me. I'm probably a little bit on the stressed. No, I'm not a little bit. I'm got a lot of stress going on in my world right now. So please forgive me if I don't seem to be quite on my game. But honestly, doing fine, doing okay. So let's take a look at these index charts, and let's see if we can figure out how we might want to pursue today. And we're going to have to be a little bit careful with the economic data that we've got coming, and please keep in mind that we want to shake off that bias. We really want to look at the charts for what they are, not for what we would like them to be. And when I look here at the diamonds, we're kind of stuck in the middle. We have this little pennant pattern that has been forming here, and yesterday after gapping lower, rallied back pretty strongly in the Dow. So if those bulls can continue to find that inspiration, well, first step is we need to see if we can test this area up in here and see if we can punch through that resistance in that little downtrend. And of course, the CPI number today could easily provide the inspiration for that to occur. And if that were the case, we push up here, then we need to break through these little resistance areas right in here. And if that occurs, then we're up here testing all-time highs. And I certainly can't rule out the possibility that that could happen here. There's an awful lot of pressure here to the upside with relentless buying despite valuations being high. Now, if we take a look at the bearish side of this, if the bears were to be inspired by the data today, and again, CPI could certainly provide that kind of inspiration, then breaking back down below this area of support, what I would be looking for is a pushback to test these lows and that little upside trend that we've got going in there on the diamonds. And if that were to fail, this is where we're probably going to raise some concern in the market. And I would expect if this occurs, we could see some big point moves in the market. So watch that carefully. A push back down here to test this area of price support, and then maybe even the low of that candle would really raise some fear in the market if that were the case. If we take a look at our SPY, now SPY continues to move in this down channel here in the chart, but we're up here testing the highs, pushing in these resistance areas of the chart to see if we can start progressively moving up through these resistance areas here and then trying to contact all-time highs. And it's certainly possible that that could occur with these inflation numbers here, so watch that carefully. Bullish push in here. First step is see if we can attack this area up here and break on through, and then we'll start progressively moving moving up. If, however, those bears were to find inspiration, we are perfectly set up for the possibility, if those bears were to get going, for another failure here at the top. So watch that carefully. First step, breaking down below here, and then I think coming into this area price support. Beyond that, if we were to stretch beyond that, we're probably going to raise some significant fear in the market. Now, keeping in mind, we're still above our 50-day moving average. If we break down into this area, we could find or test that 50-day moving average, and it could hold us as support, or a failure there would really raise some concern. Or QQQ, very similar pattern here, except just a little bit on the weaker side. As you can see, holding this area of support in the chart and against this little downtrending move in the chart. If those bulls can find inspiration in today's data, then pushing on through that area, I would look for a test of this resistance up here, and then we're going to have to progress through this little tiny top to see if we can get up here to all-time highs. Certainly believe that's possible. Now, if the bears were to get going, well, it's pretty easy to see here. We've got this support area that runs across here. A drop through those recent lows in here would probably send us into another test of this big black candle low here, and that would likely raise some concern in the market. Now, beyond that, you can see we could progress down through these levels in here toward this little upside trend to see if that can hold. And at the same time, we've got that 50-day moving average down in here. A test of that and a hold would be okay if we can hold it. If we were to break down through that, I would look for a little bit of concern to come up here in the market. Now, if we take a look at IWM continues to struggle here. We have continued this centric look at the indexes where we are so focused into just a small group of companies in the tech sector that we continue to languish here in the Russell. We just can't seem to find the money or the momentum to continue pushing that higher. Now, that said, we've got this little upside trend in here that could hold, and if we were to hold in here on a bullish inspiration, maybe we could push back up, and that actually sets up a little bullish pattern there in IWM. So if we can get some kind of bullishness going in here, IWM might be one of the most well set up for a bullish upside move of the indexes here at the moment, if we can get the energy. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration and push us back down through that area, however, retest of this support would kind of take that off the table and probably raise a little bit of concern in the market. And you can see we're already under that 50-day moving average here, kind of wearing it as a hat, as a matter of fact, struggling in that area. And really, the majority of the reason is just momentum here in the market. Now, if we take a look at our VIX, our VIX is also just kind of languishing here, not really sure as we head into these inflation numbers here on the day. So watch that carefully here. We've got a little bit of consolidation type pattern in here. If those bulls find inspiration here today, we need to see that fall, dropping that lower. If those bears were to find inspiration here, we could push up off of this area and then start gaining some ground in there. So we're really at a decision point here, I think, in a lot of these markets. If we take a look at T21.22, our T20s, well, the good news or bad news, however you see it, we're just above the 50% area here in the market heading into these numbers today, with a little bit of a turn lower yesterday. Despite the fact that we had that bullishness showing up, pushing things up, well, we still had more stocks declining yesterday than moving up. That's been that problem. We're just not getting the breadth that we would like to see in the market. And although we're getting all this bullish push, we're not getting that breadth to follow through with that bullish push. Perhaps that can change, and if that does change today, well, we've certainly got a nice upside opportunity that could break us out to record highs here in the market if we can get it going. But then at the same time, if those bears were to find inspiration here, we've got about an an equal amount, maybe just a tiny bit more room to move to the downside if those bears were to get going here on the day. Our T2108 did squeak up through here yesterday, just got back above that 50% here in the chart. So we've got just over half the stocks holding above their 40-day moving average, and you can see struggling in this area still to really break through. But if we can, keep in mind we've got this little downtrend in here. We could push up into there, I think, pretty easily if we can get some bullish energy coming in the market. And then, of course, we'll be testing some resistance areas up here. If the bears were to get going, well, you can see the support areas in here as well on that chart. Now, T2107 didn't fare quite as well yesterday, pretty flat on the day. As you can see, we've just been doing a lot of chopping around. We've been lacking in that market breadth here in the market, that energy. So support would be down in here. And of course, a good push back to the upside will be back up here testing that 50% area in the chart. So watch that carefully as well. Our T2101, obviously, we're weak in this market breadth, and we continue to see that problem. And it's a little bit odd. This time of a quarter, normally we have a big breadth improvement once we get past some of those big tech earnings reports because of the corporate buybacks. It does make me wonder, though, if we're going to be lacking a little bit in those corporate buybacks or energy in those corporate buybacks, just simply because of the massive spend that these companies are going to be doing into AI this quarter. So keep an eye on that. Breadth just hasn't been really strong here, and you can see that weakness. We need some kind of inspiration to start picking that up. The question is, will it be on the bullish side or the bearish side at the moment? So watch that close. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that favor, if you could click that subscribe button on YouTube, also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, clicking that thumbs up button, leave them a brief comment. That helps a ton. Thank you so much for those folks that have already reached out with your sympathies, and I truly, truly appreciate it. You guys, you're like part of my family, and I do truly appreciate the kind support and the kindness that you show me. I truly appreciate that. Before we get going there, let's take a quick look at what we've got going on our economic calendar here for today. Now, our economic calendar, we've already got mortgage applications in, came in at 2.3%. We see the purchase index at a negative 2.3, and refinance coming in at 9.6. So a little bit of middle of the road report there on those mortgage apps. And then, of course, the big daddy of the day is going to be the CPI report. That CPI number, they're expecting the month over month right now in consensus to be 0.3, the year over year 2.9. Ex-food and energy coming in at a 0.3, just a little higher on the month over month, and ex-food and energy coming in year over year at 3.1. There are some differences in this consensus with a lot of the folks out there suggesting that this number could be higher. So be prepared for some volatility. No matter what happens here, there could be some volatility. The entire world right now is keeping a close eye on our CPI. If we take a look past that, we've got more Fed speak in here with Jerome Powell testifying on the Hill again today. So watch for that. It's usually not nearly as important as the first day up there where it's unlikely we're going to learn anything new, is what I'm saying. And then if we take a look, we've got a petroleum status report today. We've got a 4-month bill auction. We've got Bostic in here speaking, a 10-year note auction, Treasury statement, and Waller will be after the bell today. As we look forward into Thursday, keep in mind we're not out of the woods here. Jobless claims and our PPI will be in there tomorrow, along with some bond auctions, a Fed balance sheet, so kind of a natural gas report, so keep an eye on that. And then Friday's going to be a busy one as well, with market moving economic data coming in here on Friday. So be prepared for yet more volatility in the market. And if we take a look at our earnings calendar, well, it's a busy one. And guys, I didn't do the blog this morning. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the blog this entire week, but to kind of pass this along to you, I did prepare this. These are our notables for today. You guys could grab that, take a screenshot. Obviously, we've got quite a few in here today that we'll be paying attention to. We've got KHC that's going to be reporting ALKS. You can see CVS is in here, Denny's. So quite a few this morning. Now, nothing in here that I would necessarily say is a big market mover in the morning. In the afternoon, however, we're going to hear from Cisco. This could be real important because of their inclusion into that Stargate project. So keep a close eye on that. AAP is going to be in here. So we have a few more potentially market movers here that will be reporting here this afternoon. So kind of keep an eye on those after the bell today. If we take a look at some stocks that could be setting up, well, keep in mind, guys, on these stocks that could be setting up, we want to remember that these aren't recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful here in this market. Again, the news today could turn us into a very bullish move. It could turn us into a very bearish move. One thing I continue to be watching for is the potential of some big price action moves, depending on how the market gets juiced. If it's juiced to the upside or the downside, we could see some big point moves. And one of the reasons is because our valuations are so high here in the market. So be careful and make sure you plan your trading carefully, knowing your risks in the market. Now, that being said, there are some really good looking stocks out here. As you guys know, I've been mentioning Steel Dynamics in here. Steel Dynamics broke that alert, continues to show upside here. I would keep an eye on this, particularly if we start to see that dollar continue to weaken in that little downtrend that it started. I think steel has some upside potential. Now, this morning might be getting a little bit of a rest back, but as long as it remains in this trending area here, I would be watching for that next opportunity in that. Nucor also, same thing. We're getting a little bit of a resting pattern. Maybe if that could consolidate across this little area right in here, rest just a little bit, then I would look for that trend to continue to move that back to the upside. MT just had an amazing move on its earnings anyway, so popping on through here, breaking through resistance, likely needs to rest a little bit more, and you can see our trend somewhere out in here someplace. Let that rest and then look for that next opportunity there in MT. In other areas here, let's take a quick look at Chewy. Chewy, I've been watching this for that potential. If we could get some bullishness going here in the market, some energy right here on this long trend, we just need that bullish energy to push in here and pop that through. If it fails from here, however, could be a different story altogether. We could really see a pile-on in selling from that point, but watch that carefully here in Chewy. Still setting up and looking pretty good. You guys know that I was talking about Mickey D's. Mickey D's popping through on its earnings report, showing lots of strength. Even though they missed on revenue, for some reason the market is forgiving Mickey D's on that. Really strong move here to the upside. So any rest or pullback now, I think, sets up that opportunity. Any pullback in here toward the trend or support area, I would watch for that next opportunity in that looking really good. You know, one of the places that has just been incredibly strong here is any of the miners out there in the market. VALE. Look at this nice little consolidating move here. After breaking through resistance coming into the trend, I would watch that carefully. A little bit of bullishness today, and I think VALE could continue to stretch to the upside. I'd keep a pretty close eye on that. Still liking the way this tiger is working out. Pushing here through to the upside. Now it's not real energetic. A lot of these little stocks aren't all that energetic at the moment because we're lacking that market breadth. But you can see if we were to push right on through up there, then I think the stretch right up into this area may be possible. Keep an eye on TIGR. Upstart had quite a day yesterday, really pushing strongly here, pushing through some resistance in the chart. So now any little rest or pullback in here, I think, could set up an opportunity. I'd watch that carefully. Adobe finally breaking in that alert in here, pushing on through that little inverted head and shoulders pattern, and you can see in here pushing right up into that 50. I wouldn't be too surprised if this has to rest a little bit right here, but if we can break above that 50, that creates that rounded bottom breakout pattern. I would look for that next opportunity in here, and Adobe could be coming around as long as the market stays bullish. Take a look at XLY. Now, I was looking for that consumer discretionary to maybe push on through from this higher low. Instead, we went the other direction, and that does raise some concerns here for me for the strength of the consumer. So watch that carefully. Any rally back up, I think, could set up the next opportunity to take a short there in XLY. Watch that close. Tesla, I had been mentioning for some time Tesla was setting up short. We got that nice little failure in here, and now I would not chase it. Pushing down into this area of the market, I would look for any kind of bounce back up to set up the next short. Push back up into here, let that rest into this resistance or up toward this trend. I would look for that next opportunity for that short in here, and you can see gave up that 50-day moving average hard. So any rally back up really could push us down toward the 200-day moving average and this bigger area of price support here in Tesla. So watch that carefully here. Not looking so good overall. You know, and I'm going to say the same about some of these big tech giants. Microsoft, this little flag out here starting to form. Not looking so good overall here in Microsoft. Below its 50, below its 200, struggling with some resistance here in the chart, trying to push back through. I would be watching for that opportunity here that Microsoft might slip off of this little edge and start moving on down. So watch that carefully here. Microsoft not looking too happy overall. I'm going to say the same for Google. Any rally back here on Google, pushing back up into some of these areas of resistance in the chart, I'd be watching for a little bit of short or to the downside. I am seeing some more defensive type stocks perking up here. So Southern Company, utilities, very sensitive to interest rates. That's going to be a problem in here potentially. But Southern Company pushing nicely to the upside here. I think any rest or pullback in there sets up that opportunity. Take a look at Altria, an old, boring defensive sector stock that pays one heck of a dividend. That's looking pretty darn good in here. Pushing up, you can see that we had this nice little consolidation popping through, pushing through to the upside. I would be watching that pretty darn carefully. Walmart, as we head toward this next earnings report on the 20th, nice little resting consolidation in here. Again, defensive sector company. Watch that carefully. may find that push to the upside. And overall, if you take a look at some utilities like XLU, if you want a basket starting to come up in here, it might break through that downtrend. So watch some of those close. So there's a few stocks for you to be paying attention today. Thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Thanks for all the kind support. I appreciate that as well. Y'all take care. Be safe. I'll see you right back here bright and early Thursday morning, assuming nothing changes and I have to get on an airplane. Y'all take care.